Pope Francis has finished his first ever U.S. visit and is on his way back to the Vatican tonight. CBS News foreign correspondent Allen Pizzey has been with the Pope, sometimes very close, the entire way all week. He filed this reporter's notebook.
From the moment Pope Francis took his first steps on this trip, there were events that stood out and at times bemused. Who else but Cuban President Raul Castro could make a welcoming speech that equated a socialist revolution with the ideals and aims of the Catholic Church? Ordinary Cubans, however, had only one thing on their minds: would the Pope's efforts mean an end to the U.S. trade embargo? His arrival in the U.S. was classic Francis, welcomed at the steps of the plane by the president and then climbing into a Fiat. What better way to show Americans that they were about to see and hear something exceptional? The rapturous reception when he hit the streets was familiar.
There it is. There's the Fiat. Right down there. Oh! Did you see him?
But this reporter wasn't prepared for the rapture of a fellow correspondent.
And I think he was waving directly at you.
Did you hear my excitement? I felt like a little girl again.
The commentary made it clear how privileged we who travel with the Pope actually are, to get to shake his hand, look him in the eye, and feel the warmth that emanates from the man.
We are living at a critical moment of history.
Francis' speech at the White House was the first I'd ever heard him deliver in English. Unlike his homilies in Italian or Spanish, he barely deviated by a word. The deliberate delivery, diction, and emphasis drove home his message in a way no translation ever could.
God bless America.
And then there was the extraordinary security. Never was so much carbon emitted to protect a man so concerned about global warming, or, who in the words of his press spokesman, is happiest when there's no security at all. The classic moment was when this little girl breached the lines and Francis had her brought over for a blessing.
Do unto others as you will have them do unto you.
As for the Pope's breaches of the barriers of politics, you didn't have to be a policy wonk to figure out who stood where on the controversial points like climate change and immigration laws. But it was the enthusiasm of ordinary people which stood out above all. One was left with the overall impression that the reaction to Francis and his messages will linger, and the politicians ignore it at their peril. Allen Pizzey, CBS News, aboard the papal flight.